Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will discuss the Soulbreaker's Ghost Wave build, including the details such as equipment build, cards, Acer runes, S and Star runes, prayers and blessings, and Oracle extract. Let's begin. To start, let's review first the bread and butter skills of this build. First is Ghost Wave, SoulBlade Cross-Enhanced Soulbreaker skill, which deals 130% of Soulbreaker's damage to a fan-shaped area every time it's casted to a target. Upon completing all the hourglass required to upgrade 4th job skills, it will have a 100% chance to obtain Soul Stack, which boosts penetration and can be used to maximize the Soul Sacrifice buff skill. Take note that this skill is convertible, same as Soulbreaker, but has a shorter range and consumes more SP. It also has a cast time of 4 seconds, so you need at least 120 dex to utilize this skill without casting. Hit line on the Ragebreaker rune also does not affect this skill, so you might want to hardly invest on hit rate to fully utilize this skill against high flee opponents. Next is the Soulbreaker, a skill which fires waves from a certain range and depends its damage output on attack and intelligence. Take note that only the attack portion of the damage calculation benefits from attributes, while the intelligence portion totally ignores def. This skill is also a single target only, but has longer range compared to Ghost Wave. Next is the Mind Intimidate passive of Guillotine Cross. This passive has a 45% chance to apply fear status to enemies hit by Soulbreaker or Ghost Wave and deals 30% damage to enemies under fear status. It also has 15% bonus damage if you are equipped with daggers. Lastly, the Soul Sacrifice skill, a SoulBlade cross buff which consumes all stacked souls and converted to crit and int stats, maximum of 150 bonus int depending on your star rune. Let's now go to our equipment build. For weapon, I highly recommend Fortune Sword since it gives relatively high attack and intelligence attributes and has a high Soulbreaker bonus damage when refined plus 15. It is also cheaper than other weapons. Enchants recommended are PDI, SharpBlade, Morale, and Tenacity. Take note that range attack enchant or arch does not apply to Soulbreaker even when using plus 15 Fortune Sword, since it is still considered as a melee type of weapon. Card combinations may also vary on your target and play style. The recommended cards here are for PvP purposes only. For PvE, just switch to Minori's or any racial or elemental cards available on your inventory. Hit rate should be considered upon planning your endgame cards. That's why Freoni Star was the most advisable card to invest as of this current episode of Ragnarok Online. Other alternative weapons are Desert Storm, which gives high hit rate and easy inside deposit activation, while the other one was the Demon Knife, which doubles the damage output by chance. Both are good as all-around weapon aside for Ghost Wave build. For offhand and armor, here are the following combinations that you may want to follow. 1. Skeleton Bracer and Chosen Armor. An offensive set which relies on attack and high PDI proc chance to apply huge damage against any opponent. Also has protection against fear, but most importantly, it is the cheapest among other equipment that can be used for both PvE and PvP. Next is the Hellion Bracelet and Chosen Armor combo. Hellion Bracelet was highly recommended if you only have plus 15 Fortune Sword with offensive enchant. It's the only offhand which gives the range damage bonus effect, which can only be activated by using an over-upped FS. A defensive equipment is also effective, such as Giant Armor Shield and Comet Warfare Armor for large-scale PvP maps such as Guild Wars. Jives with Tenacity enchants and 0 STR builds, which makes you a tank like Poison Bomb. Vink and Ninja Clothes are only good if you're not yet decided to go with full Ghost Wave build. Its stats are divided between PDI and crit, but still has better damage output than other sets because of its high pen and PDI. Luck stats are also good for those who like to use Poison Smoke, since it increases the chance and duration to inflict poison status to enemies. Recommended cards for offhand and armor greatly depends on what set you are using. For an offensive set, Mark plus Chimera Star card is a good combination to balance resist or immunity and damage to poison targets. The best defensive cards, however, are Loot and D Tartarus Star card. These cards are the best used using the Comet Warfare Armor and works well with the full reduction build. Argiope card can also be paired with Mark card for cheap yet effective setup to survive any arena. Preferred enchants are Armor Breaking for offensive builds and Tenacity for reduction build. Without 4th enchant, any high hit enchantment will do. Morale for armor or double resist and HP % enchant is also good. I suggest to mix up cards, enchants so you can see the build of your character that suits your playstyle the most. Here are some good garments and footgear combos. First, Ancient Cape and Rune Boots are good for both PvE and PvP. Going to semi-offensive for Ghost Wave build isn't that bad since you'll have a range advantage that can be used to effectively nuke other opponents without being easily targeted. Ancient Cape also has skill damage boost for its upcoming synth on future episodes. Next ones are common sets such as MSM and HFS, which gives huge neutral and magic reduction, and the Diabola set, which offers additional resistance and HP. The cheapest effective set, which are good for those who are yet starting their PvP set, is the Do Flamingo Plus Staunch Shoes for neutral damage reduction and huge HP. While for garment and footgear card, I highly recommend the expensive Edga card and Orc Baby card for survivability, especially against Chronomancers and Stellar Hunters. The one I'm currently using was the Orc Zombie Star and Traceless to apply stun to enemies and additional damage to poison targets. Double resists and HP enchants are the best for garments and shoes for survivability. Recommended resist enchants are against stun, poison or freeze. Here are some accessory combination that you may want to consider. Ring of Loyalty plus Fading Tear with both SharpBlade or PDI enchant works well with Staunch and Skeleton Bracer offhand and armor. This set has decent attack percentage and also has the hit bonus from Fading Tear. Dog Servant was one of the most expensive yet very useful since it utilizes the effect of a plus 15 Fortune Sword to apply range damage bonus to Soul Breaker skill. Survival Ring with Tenacity enchants completes the full reduction or survivability build and gives a maximum of 20% HP or 10% for each accessory. Hermit's Bundle is very useful, especially if you have other multi-jobs like Lightbringer or Novice Guardian. It gives substantial amount of PDI and attack when highly refined. For cards, I recommend to use any of the following, which fills your lacking stats. Galleon for hit rate, which can be substitute to Freoni card's effect, Fisherman card for additional damage reduction and freeze resist, Zipper Bear for hit and attack, and Wraith Star card if you have stunning attacks from cards or headgears. There are lots of headgear combination to choose from. It greatly depends on your luck on gotchas, but there are also F2P friendly headgears which gives good attributes and useful for PvP. Here are some headgears that I prefer for PvP purposes. When selecting headgear, you must be aware for the purpose of your build. For example, if you want to apply status to your targets, choose the headgears which applies status like stun, fear, sleep, or freeze upon impact. If you want to have a pure offensive build, you must pick the headgears which boosts your penetration, damage increase, and attack. For durability, choose the set which give high HP and resistance. Use headwear enchantment to fill up the lacking stats in your build. In my case, I mostly targeted hit enchants on headgear since it gives high value hit enchants than normal equipment. There are also fourth enchants that you can attain, such as Morale and SharpBlade. For cards, select the resistance which you don't currently have on your equipment set. I use Mummy Star card to achieve my target hit rate, while I sometimes switch to other resistance or status immunity cards. Some good cards are Mentalist card for fear immunity, Nightmare card for sleep immunity, Murdoch card for silence immunity, Orc Hero card for stun immunity, and Devaruchi card for darkness immunity. Here are some sample builds that you can refer. Please do take note that you may tweak some equipment and cards depending on availability. For rune box setup, I highly prefer the following runes: Spirit's Eye Star, Storm Parry, Death Wound, Fierce Armor Breaking, Soul Hunting Pact Star, and the Hurricane Rune. Note that all runes must have their third lines activated for efficiency. Here are the attribute runes that I'm currently using. You can mix up other runes depending on the lacking stats of your character. Rage Breaker Rune can be substituted to Fierce Armor Breaking Rune for higher damage output but requires Expert Precision Stone to remove the monster size penalty of daggers. Please see below skill stat distribution for your reference. You can allocate points to other skills depending on your preference. I usually use Venom Dart and Substitute Ambush if I'm up against Divine Avengers and Saints to remove their ability to heal. Sometimes, I allocate points to Dance of the Charming Ghast by removing the breakthrough of Poison Smoke if I'm dealing with hiding jobs or those who uses Smoky card. My stat allocation usually depends on my target hit rate. The rest are spread out to balance my fleet, intelligence and vitality. I rarely put points to luck stats since I just use Poison Smoke to debuff enemies and uses Ghost Wave and Depravity to kill. My skill slot setup was the one I use for PvP Arena. But for 6v6 Magic Prison, I manually casts Ghost Wave by replacing the ambush slot on my skill bar. I personally think that using auto skill bar is not advisable on serious PvP matches since it may lead to mistargeting opponents and delays dodging reflexes. For Prayer Blessing, set up the usual target for physical jobs like Penetration, Attack, Ignore Def Damage to Demi-Human and Refine Attack. For blue cards, aside from HP, I prioritize magic damage reduction to survive magic burst skills like Tetra Vortex. For yellow cards, aside from poison attack, you may prioritize elemental reduction stats such as Fire for Lightbringers Pioneer, Wind for Novice Guardians Card Tornado, and water damage reduction for Sierra's Water Asura. Also don't forget to pray for more attack and HP, and use the Anvil or Smelting feature for more refine attack depending on your weapon and accessories refinement. Other permanent stat sources are Spirit Tree of Wasteland and the Frost Domain statue. You may watch other gods here in YouTube for more info. Lastly, for your character's improvement, you may want to try my goal or target setting for my SoulBlade process shown below. Well, that's all for today's video. Hope you're all doing fine. Our next video we will tackle on how to handle different jobs on PvP. So, stay tuned and click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.